have to deal with, in the words of the great philosopher Katy Perry, the hot and the cold. That's actually her lyrics. I learned how to turn off a furnace, guys, and we are live here to chat about all the TV that we've watched this week, last 2 weeks. Most notably, Vox Machina. I don't know. I think there might be some level of excitement here. I actually just maybe 25 minutes ago got caught up on the latest episode that's out, which is episode 6. Episode 7 through 9 or something like that drops tomorrow. So we're all very excited over here. There's some other stuff we've all been watching. We may have roped Carey over to the dark side, the dark, toxic, terrible love story that is Miss Scarlet and the Duke, right when it got to its worst. So there's a lot of good stuff. How are both of you doing this week and tonight? And do you have any news to throw into the pile?
I am doing really well this evening. I am very excited to talk about this stuff. I've watched, along with Legends, I've also watched Miss Scarlet and the Duke, and I have watched The Last of Us.
A little known
And then
show that I hear nobody
just
else
a
is
little known
watching
show,
these
an
days.
indie project, if you will. Uh, uh, Then for news, I have a couple things. So there is I believe it's a movie in production. I have no notes today. Uh, and it's going to be done like the leading is Maya Hawke, and her dad
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, is going to be doing the production and directing, I believe, but it's going to be a biopic about Flannery O'Connor. My
Ooh.
little literary loving heart is excited about that. I'm not super familiar with Flannery O'Connor, but that is a quick problem for me to solve. So I'm excited to hear more about that. Also, we have a trailer for Daisy Jones and the Six dropped
Mm-hmm.
today. It looks spectacular, so we're very
Mm-hmm.
excited about that. That comes out on March 3rd on Amazon Prime. And then on a very thematic note, Critical Role, who is the parent house, the founders of Legends of Vox Machina, has recently announced that they are entering a formal partnership with Amazon Prime. So for the next several years, they have a several series and TV show deal, which film deal, which means we'll probably get. We already know we're going to get the next campaign, so campaign 2, following the Mighty Nine. We may one day get campaign 3. Super excited about that. That's the one I'm watching. Love that one. And we may even get movies. So kind of a movie focusing on the Calamity would be a great addition to expanding the lore of the entire the universe that this takes place in. Really kind of giving people that are not watching campaigns live but are watching Legends Vox Machina even more information about the world that this kind of takes place in, and adds some really immersive details to it, learning about the ancient history of Exandria. So I'm very excited about that. I will be watching those two. And I have some interesting takes on the season 2 of Legends of Vox Machina when we get to that.
I'm so excited for us to get to that. And also down with Jeff Bezos, but also Amazon Prime needs to cut Kate her check. Okay, Carey, you're up. Any news for us?
I would imagine you guys have heard, or maybe not, but James Gunn and the other guy,
Mhm.
Safran, whatever his name is, co-head of the new DC universe, they announced sort of what their plan is for their slate of movies and television shows. And I'm pretty sure you're not surprised or shocked, but there is a new Superman offering that is in the works. There is also a Batman venture that's in the works. It's supposed to be focusing on quote unquote the Bat family,
Okay.
which is interesting because you'll get Robin and perhaps I'd imagine Batgirl and that sort of thing, which could be interesting. Um, there is a new and interesting take on what they want to do with Supergirl. Um,
Mhm.
it's always been sort of I've always felt that she is ideologically opposed to Superman, because Superman didn't know what Krypton was. He didn't know anything about his heritage. And she quite honestly does. And so her story is much different as opposed to just a gender swap Superman. So I think they're going to lean into that. What is sort of interesting is that they have not talked or said, well, let me take that back. I know that there is a quote unquote Amazonian Themysciran venture that they want to do. I can't remember if it's a movie or if they want to focus it on television, but it's not necessarily a Wonder Woman sort of situation. So it's kind of interesting that they're doing Batman and Superman and not saying, hey, let's also do a Wonder Woman movie, which you would have figured would have been a very, very strong thing they wanted to do. But that's neither here nor there. Long story short, based on what they've said they want to do, I am more intrigued about what it is than I was before. So they've done their job, right? Still no word yet on how this new Flash movie will factor into all that. I have to assume and imagine they want to see how that does. They want to see if Ezra Miller can keep his nose clean. And if he can, then they may figure out a way to sort of venture off from that. But I'm pretty sure they don't want to have their big announcement, what they want to do, until they know that this dude can act right, I guess. So, long story
Films
short,
shot in prison, just, sometimes there's some logistics and budgetary concerns there.
yeah, unless they want to basically do like a season 9 of Arrow where he's in prison and fine, do that. I just don't imagine that's what they want to see with Flash. But long story short, I'm interested and more intrigued than I've ever been in what DC has in store. And finally, they did name the quote unquote new Batman movie, the Robert Pattinson Batman, which I actually thought was a fantastic movie. They've given a title to it. I'm pretty sure you will not be, you'll probably be underwhelmed by the title. It is the Batman 2, no returns
The
or
Batman 2. Gotcha.
the Batman 2. I would have been happier if they had called it the Batman 2 Electric Boogaloo, but they didn't ask me.
Yeah.
Did they?
And they could have even.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they could have even leaned just further into like the cheesy fringes of what that movie is, which I still haven't seen. I need to, but I just haven't had the chance to. Is like calling it the Batman Vengeance or the Batman Justice or the some like riff on one of his dark, brooding phrases that he said during that movie, and like make that the focal point of the next one of his journey.
Mm-hmm.
Batman 2?
Yeah. Personally, I would have preferred if they called this second movie, if they called it Bruce Wayne. Because if you've seen the first one, there was not much distinction between his Bruce Wayne and Batman persona. And so in a lot of ways, Bruce Wayne wasn't fleshed out at all. It was basically all about Batman. The second one could have been about Bruce Wayne, how he sort of develops that duality by understanding that Bruce Wayne can do really good things, but he can't do all the things that Batman needs to do. I would have called it Bruce Wayne, but like I said, no one is.
They could have called it Too Bat, Too Furious.
I've heard that joke. I still say
they could have called it Batman 2, or the Batman 2, but instead of it being the number 2, it'd be TOO. If they want to lean into the super emo thing, have they also considered that like that era of music had like extremely melodramatic long titles, like a Mayday Parade, like if you wanted a song written about you, all you had to do is ask, I'll be here by the ocean just waiting for proof that sunsets have silhouettes. Like you could do like an extremely long title.
Or, you could have gone panic ! It's Batman. Like you could have.
Well, we're all skipping over. We're all skipping over the perfect name of what this Batman 2 could have been. It could have been freaking Twilight of the Batman. How did we not do that?
Yes. There were some great options in there. I presume somebody somewhere got tired of hearing said options and just decided to call it Batman 2. And the Superman movie is going to be called Superman Legacy. Is that right?
Yes, dealing more with his sort of coming to grips with his, or essentially dealing with his duality of being a Kryptonian and also sort of living amongst humans, right? Which is an interesting take on the character. It's an interesting first sort of take on what they plan to do, but I don't know that it's been explored a whole lot in cinema. So that's actually a good way to go, especially if you're going to have Supergirl as part of this universe also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious to see what direction they take Supergirl, because I'm really, really disappointed that they're not continuing the Wonder Woman piece. I felt that should have been a trilogy that was closed. I think the fact that Ezra Miller has been given the chances that have been afforded there, but Wonder Woman has been cut short is an embarrassment and an undefensible position. I'm really excited about what's going to come out of DC, despite the, general controversy and shit stirring that's going on with the passing of the torches. I still think it's going to be great, and it's probably going to appeal to me more than a lot of what Marvel's doing, aside from like Scarlet Witch, and that's it. But the handling of Wonder Woman is an embarrassment.
Final footnote to that news is that apparently they intend to sort of use the same talent across all mediums, whether it's television, movies, even video games, and I'm assuming animation, but I'm not exactly sure. I guess I'm saying all that to say that the connectivity between all of it will be more coherent, which is a good thing. It'll just be interesting to see what talent they can attract, having to make that sort of commitment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's a really good point. Young talent, I assume, which I think what they're going for quite a bit of it. Well, speaking of talent and aliens existing in other worlds and superpowers and melodramatic songs, let's dive right into Vox Machina. Now, I want to caveat this. There is something Carey is very, very good at doing, and that's interjecting with questions. I want to encourage you to particularly do that here. Please structure our discussion, even if we're going down tangents, with questions, so that you and anybody else who happens to be watching this who does not watch this bizarre animated show can actually kind of get what's going on. And with that, I will turn it over to Kate with just a starting point question, maybe a little bit of a shit stirring question. So far, what's been better, season 2 or season 1?
Okay, that's a really hard question to start off with, because I will say I kind of have a final piece of like actual bit of a gripe that I have. I want to air out, but I do want to kind of be very positive at first.
Okay.
Part of me really loves season 1. I loved season 1. I thought it was very cohesive. I thought it did a great job of introducing the characters. It was one of their most popular storylines. But to me personally, when I was watching the campaign, the Dragon arc is my favorite. You get to know these characters very intimately. There's a lot of nuance. But the problem is, even though they got 2 seasons for the Dragon arc, there's so much material they have to run through so fast. And so they're doing a fantastic job of interweaving the storyline and going as quickly as they can without trying to make it not feel too rushed. There is a bit of nuance lost. So I will say, I think the hype, like the excitement I get in season 2 is better. The moments they're covering moments every single minute. Like every moment that's referenced, it's a reference, and it's a well done reference. However, I will say I miss a bit of the nuance that we got in season 1. That's my answer. It's a little prelude to what I'm going to go with later.
So far, I'll just say I like season 2 better because season 2 has better ship content. With that being said,
Yes.
extremely apparent in season 2, which I already knew because I was warned that the ship that I like the best is not canon and will never be canon. So that's just going to be a thorn in my side forever. It's a cross we all have to
Whi-
bear, and they made the wrong
Which one
choice.
did you? Was it the one that
Pike
you
and
thought
Grog.
Grog?
Pike and Grog. The best ship. The best ship. Now, okay.
Friendship.
What now?
Friendship. They
No,
like
I
kind of see each
refuse
other
to
as like
entertain the idea
siblings.
that in this world, men and women can only be friends. I find that proposition too healthy, too boring, so I reject it. Pike and Grog are the most adorable. And furthermore, I can't stand Scanlan. He's so annoying and self absorbed. I'm supposed to feel bad for him that he wants love, but he can't have it because he can't stop sleeping with. Like, I don't care. He's so annoying. Why am I
So
supposed to want Scanlan and Pike together? I don't. What? So she can mommy him and make him feel better about his feelings? Absolutely not. But the ship dynamics in general is what's the best part of season 2. I won't apologize about it. I know there's like plot and theory and powers and character developments that's like really rich and impressive and fantastic. Me and my last 2 brain cells are like, ooh, cute, kid.
he gave her his jacket.
Yeah. I also like
No,
Keyleth
I
and the Vax. I like Keyleth and Vax. That's a vibe. Vex and Percy, I can
yeah.
take it or leave it only because I like her with like her girlfriends and everything. But like I know that's a vibe and that's gonna like be a thing as well. I love Vex. That I love Vex. Whatever she loves, I'm down for.
Okay. Okay. This is like the Felicity situation. We don't always ship Felicity. We ship Felicity with whatever she wants.
That exactly.
I fair enough. I am more on the true Percy Vex ship, but I also have more of the context. It's fine.
Yeah.
I will say the mention of Kashaw and Keyleth, little insider campaign knowledge. That was actually the first romantic moment, like true official romance moment ever in the campaign. It happened much earlier in the campaign, and it was like a we're
Wait, are you
doing
talking about the
this.
male twin in Keyleth, or are you talking about a different character?
No, Keyleth and Kashaw. So the priest guy that
Oh, okay.
Zara and Kashaw. So Kashaw and Keyleth, they kissed
Oh, yeah.
before the Briarwood arc, not Bridgerton arc, Briarwood arc.
Same thing.
And so that it's same thing, whatever. And so it's really funny to see how they're reintegrating that pre-existing storyline. They were Other than that, they were actually more like amicable. They were more friendly, but I actually really liked how they adapted the story. It made more rationale for why they would join for this part, be helpful, but not want to stick around. Because if they were best buddies, why wouldn't they just join Vox Machina? Why don't they just become an extra few members? But this antagonistic to respectful arc that they got was really great. It also gave a better reason for why Vex got the necklace. It was just really great all around.
Yes, Carey, you have a
Yes.
question. Please share.
So here, too, perhaps, how many characters are we talking about? And how long are these campaigns, episodes, or whatever? Because the question I'm wondering is how much time do they have or do they give you to sort of learn and understand and know these characters?
So there's 7 main characters. There's the twins, Vex and Vax. There's Percy. Uh, there's Keyleth. Those are all the human-sized characters. Then there's Pike and Scanlan. Those are gnomes. And then there's Grog, and he is a big Goliath. Uh, Same kind of holds true with all the campaigns. There are 7 main characters because there are 7 main players. They have guest characters. Uh, those guest characters have been in campaigns and are now translated into the Legends of Vox Machina things, such as Kasha and Zara. Um, the first campaign was 115 episodes. They average about 4 hours long. Just like a quick little thing.
Right?
Uh,
Right?
just like
That's
super
not
quick.
what you thought she was going to say in response to a question of how long is the source material for what eventually becomes like a 20-minute animated show on
Hmm.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, yeah. So the first season of Vox Machina, Legends of Vox Machina, is 12 episodes, taking a pre-stream arc, so something they never actually televised and or streamed, I best better terminology, and then 15 episodes of what's referred to as the Briarwood arc. So that's roughly, quick math, 17 times. That's like 45 hours, more than that, like 60 hours,
Well, you save a
roughly.
lot of time by cutting out the dice rolls.
Yes. You save time with dice rolls, you save time with specific characters that are not in the story anymore. We don't talk about that person. We save time with um like not having to over explain and like have 5 different versions of combat while getting to places.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get to trim things down, but it still is like it's a lot of things that are cut for time or trimmed down or
Mm-hmm.
all around just like redone.
Because
So
then you have the
there's some.
combat sequences and everybody can kind of fight at once rather than this whole like taking turns and rolling for initiative, even though they do
Hmm.
kind of have them like fight all separate, but it allows them to condense fight time, which allows me to ignore
Yes.
all fight sequences entirely. I have never once paid
Yeah.
attention to a
I
single fight
mean,
sequence.
I mean, because honestly, if you were watching all 115 episodes, I'm sure it's over 100 hours of combat content.
Hmm.
Um, and you do still get a good amount of the combats in the animated series, but it's not 3.5 hours of watching them have what is essentially less than a minute of fighting in
Hmm.
time, in real time. Um, and you do get the character moments that are important in the combat without having to sit there for 3.5 hours. Now, I enjoy watching for the 3.5 hours, but I do understand that it's a lot of content and it's a lot to sit through.
Do you guys live in like some sort of I don't know place where you get more than 24 hours in a day?
That's what I want to know about Kate because, like, for me, I'm only watching the 20-minute thing on Amazon. So right now they're dropping 3 episodes per week. Each episode's like 20 minutes. So it's like an hour content a week. They're only going to do this for a few weeks because each season is like 12 to 15 episodes or whatever. So it goes on for like 4 or 5 weeks. That's all I've ever consumed of this. But I have like wildly brandished strong opinions about it that like literally asked for because there's a whole like the amount that I've watched of this compared to like the amount of actual source content there is with it, which is actually, if you think about it, super analogous to my experience with Arrow, wherein there's like 150 years of 5,000 hours of this, that, or whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to ignore all of that and only pay attention to this TV show and have wild opinions about, whatever, who should be, you know, whatever based on
Yeah.
that instead of the source material. And here I am doing the exact same thing, and I won't apologize. But I do admire the people who actually know the source.
So, well, and just for like reference, it's not like I've been watching for this almost 8 years they've been doing this. No, no. I started in late August of
That makes it
of
worse. You
2012,
get how that makes it
2021.
worse, right?
I do recognize how it makes it worse. I understand. I also am not the fastest in watching it. I have seen people on Twitter talk about how they enter the fandom and like 3 months later have all of the streams or all of the campaigns caught up on. Like, I don't understand how you did that. I'm only caught up on the first one. I've barely started the second one.
Maybe
I
if
don't
you watch
understand.
everything like 3x speed.
Yeah, but then you lose the acting, which is why I watch. Like, I
Mhm.
watch for like the acting because these are award-winning actors
Mhm.
having just shooting shit. That's what it is.
It's great. Pike and Grog writes.
Yeah. You're allowed, I guess, but No.
Okay, give me some controversial theories. We
Okay.
need to get through them so that they can be out there in the open and there's video evidence of it, but also with enough time to dive into the Scarlet and the Duke, because I also have
Okay.
wildly brandished opinions about that as well.
Okay. So it's not necessarily theories or controversial, whatever. It's more of so you know how in 2017 when we watched the Last Jedi,
Yeah,
and we were like the only 5 people that liked it because you're
right.
waiting on the precipice of like the shoe dropping, and you're like, I liked it, but I could see where this could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at right now with Legends. And I, in my heart of hearts, know it's going to be fine. I know that it's written, produced by people who dearly love it and treasure, like, have so much care for the source material. It's their own source material, have so much love for these characters. But I'm going to say it, my favorite's Vex, and she is being underutilized to a painful degree, and I'm kind of upset about it.
In the show, right? Is
In
what
the show.
in the show.
In the campaign, totally different. I'm strictly talking about the show right now. Um, she, in the campaign, was very much a character that until we got to her big moment, you got to know a lot because she was kind of always a person helping the main character discover themselves. Like, she was
Mm-hmm.
always being supportive just on the side, and you got really informed by who she was without knowing her backstory. So
Mm-hmm.
people always like said she was greedy because you didn't understand why she was greedy. People always said she was kind of a bitch, and you're like, but you don't know why. Very I Because I am pattern recognition and like I overanalyze every character decision ever, was like, oh, you poor broken baby, I want to love you, hug you, take care of you by like episode 2. um so to me, when we get to the Feywild episode, which is what episode 7 takes care of,
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting around looking at the YouTube comments going, how did you guys not know that her greed, quote unquote, becomes because she feels inadequate? How do
Mm-hmm.
you not know it's because she's concerned that that's the only way she can contribute to the group, and that that's the way she protects her family and her friends, is because like she's the money person, and you
Mm-hmm.
guys still live in a place that needs money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how you guys didn't realize that she has a bleeding heart. I don't understand how you guys don't, all these
People don't like
things.
to think that
So
deeply about female characters. They're just like, this is the religious one. This is the sweet young sweetheart one. This
quirky
is
one,
the
and
tough one. This is like they want to
yes.
shove them into these archetypes, and the characters on the show, upon first glance, lend themselves
Hmm.
well to being shoved into archetypes, as anything in this genre, does.
Yes.
And then as they get fleshed out and we see, like, in one of the last 3 episodes, we got to see her backstory, we get to see her die and come back to life and see how everybody cares about her and like all that, which love, chef's kiss, whatever, that expands her beyond this archetype of just like the tough girl in dark
Hmm.
clothes who can kick ass. Like,
Yes.
she's that and other things
Yes.
too.
Well, and I'll say I am pleased with the 3 episodes we most just got, where it's the episode where she dies. Sorry,
Mhm.
Carey. Spoiler. Um,
It's
the
okay. Nobody
episode where
stays
the
dead.
tomb. Yeah, nobody stays dead. The
Yes.
tomb episode, you get all of the backstory with her and Vax, and then the next episode opening with the trinket scene. That is the scene in particular I have mixed feelings about.
Mm.
Uh, and so you do get a little bit more insight with her, and mainly her relationship with her brother, but really all of this storyline has been to fulfill Vax's story, which is fine. That's like how it actually functioned in the campaign. That's totally okay. I'm just saying, like, it still feels like you know all the other characters so much, and yet we don't really know what makes Vex tick within the context of the show. I do because I've seen the campaign, but in the translation, there's a lot missing from her. There's a
Mhm.
lot of nuance and compassion and like protectiveness of innocence that you're missing in the translation. So until we get like the final like uh the other shoe dropping, in the next 3 episodes, because it's got to happen in the next 3 episodes because of the location they're in. I know what, very excited about it. Um, it'll kind of inform how I think I'm going to land on if I really liked the trinket scene or if I didn't like the trinket scene, because that scene is in from the campaign, but it is completely rewritten. So that is actually kind of a big part of her backstory, and it's just her. Vax has no idea this happened. All he knows is she has a bear. She just got a bear one day, and it's fine. But in the campaign, it's the first time she's ever had to kill anybody. She had to escape on her own. She found the mom bear dying, had to decide to make the sacrifice for herself, kill the bear, found Trinket, all while trying to escape a sexual assault and being poached. That massive amount of story for Vex is glossed over by a cute little interaction between brother and sister. And I can be okay with that. Like, it's serving the brother-sister storyline if we get a really solid execution of the Feywild storyline, of her going back and seeing her dad and what she finally confesses to Percy, and like her vulnerability with Percy, and her confronting her big boss in this season when she fights the Echo Tree. Like,
I can tell the people behind this love the characters as much as you do. So I like, for me, and maybe I'm just like a little more distance from not knowing the source material.
yes.
For me, there's not a doubt in my mind that they're going to like do justice on behalf of these characters, just because they have so far, other than the whole thing with Pike and Scanlan, which like I'm not going to stop harping about. But in general, like when a character has a particular revenge or bone to pick or quest or goal or whatever, like they let it be fulfilled in a way that like honors them and makes them, a newer, better evolved character, which I think is cool.
I agree in my heart of hearts. It's just like that small bit of doubt of like, I want it so bad. I want it so bad. I am impatient for it. She is my favorite. If you didn't know, it is very much a biased fear that I have, and a biased want. If I could, the entire show would just follow Vex. I mean, honestly, but it wouldn't be Legends of Vox Machina at that
The
point.
entire team follows Vex.
Yeah, thank you. I have a whole diatribe I could go on that she's the unofficial leader, but that is a whole other conversation.
I feel like
for
she
a
is
whole
like
other
the
day.
leader. She's like the leader,
Yeah,
leader. Like, who else is it?
but like,
Pike runs off. Scanlan can't like do anything for anybody else. He's like a selfish person. Grog doesn't have like the brain power and leadership to be a leader. It's certainly not Percy, because he's too busy being like an anime protagonist and gazing off wistfully into the sky and, thinking about thoughts and things. Like,
there's
That
more
sounds
to
like
it than
leadership
that.
material to me.
sorry, what was that?
I said that sounds like leadership material to me.
Percy's not leadership material, but he is protagonist material. Like, it's very clear to me that whether or not I have such neutral feelings towards Percy, I don't dislike him and I don't like him. He is just there. But to me, it's very obvious that he is supposed to be, especially in season 1, I would say, he is supposed to be kind of your protagonist. He's kind of like the guy, but he's not leading the team by any means.
No. Well,
At many points they don't trust him. He doesn't necessarily demonstrate leadership skills. He doesn't necessarily demonstrate that kind of charisma. He's kind of this like speckled, introverted, just like an anime hero.
well, and I will say, like, mechanics wise, in the campaign, they kind of leaned into, and throughout all 3 campaigns, they've kind of leaned into this like trifecta leadership system where there's 3 characters that function as a leader as different points. So like whenever they have to convince somebody of something, but it's not really important, they send Scanlan in because it's funny. But he also
It's
has
not
like
fun,
wicked
but
high.
yes, you're right.
He has wicked high charisma. It just works every time. If they have like a stuffy, stodgy, like have to convince this really high up and almighty guy, they send Percy in because he has title and he has like some weight to throw around for that. But anytime they have to like send in to talk to somebody that has a brain and or like have to talk strategy, they send in Vex. And even within the party, they kind of serve that way. But there was never like an official, okay, we follow Vex or anything, or we follow Percy or whatever. It was more of just like a slow role development into that. And eventually there's several character lines that are like, I don't know. I'm just going to listen to what she says and do that anyway. In the later bits, which is always funny to me. I enjoy that bit of she doesn't even know what she's doing, but it's this like part of her personality is this like false confidence. Fake it till you make it is Vex. And
A
it's to a
strategy
point that the
I
rest.
admire on account of that's the only thing in my toolbox.
Yeah, there is, yeah. Uh, um, but that definitely is a big part of her character, and people just eventually just start following her, and it just kind of works out for 90% of everybody.
Yeah.
What's dead somebody at the end anyway. Um,
Who
I
dies? I think you told me before and I blocked it out.
do you want me to tell you?
Well, we'll talk about it later.
Okay, we'll
I
talk
won't.
about it later.
I won't make you spoil it on this live stream. But I need to
Yeah.
brace myself because I've already braced myself for the disappointment of my ship not happening. I'll need to brace myself for the disappointment of a death that I'm pretty sure somebody spoiled to me before, and I just kind of like mentally blocked it out. Well, Kate, any final thoughts before tomorrow the other shoe or three shoes drop? The Fey world is entered.
Sondor sucks, Sildor sucks. It's going to be great. We're going to have some really great lines and ship moments out the wazoo if we
That's
get
what I
what I want.
want.
Woo!
So excited.
Uh-huh.
Well, speaking of ship moments, I'm gonna pull Carey up to the hot seat because we've slowly through osmosis convinced Carey to join this Miss Scarlet and the Duke situation. And what we failed to mention, because we are not true foreseers, we are not true prophetesses, as it were, is that this is the worst possible time to start watching this show because it's right when we're entering this, give you a hint of something and rip it out of your heart and face love triangle, love octagon, love pentagon something era. With that being said, Carey, what are your thoughts on your foray into the world of Miss Scarlet and the Duke so far?
That full foray includes like one episode and like I think maybe 10-20 minutes of the episode previous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
but you've watched
I mean,
the latest episode.
Yes.
The
And
worst
so
possible
it's
one.
yeah. So what's funny for me is sort of having a sort of general idea of who like the main folks are, but it's still like when someone pops up on screen, I'm like, who's that, right? It's like, but I'm not saying it to anyone. But myself is like, who's that? Who's this? And
Yeah.
so it's fun following along that way. And so there are some people in a particular in the last episode that you sort of like are supposed to hate and adequately did, even though they try to give them a little bit of humanity in there somewhere as well. But it was just so fun watching that like last scene because the guy gets to sort of be the person who offers that revelation, and he just like ate it up because he was like, "No, I want to see your face when you see this."
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, only seeing an episode and basically a half, but following along with you when that scene happened, it was just like, oh, this is gonna be trouble, right? So
Stab
yeah,
me in the heart.
because again, watching the episode, you just sort of feel like I don't want to say it was like a run of the mill mystery, but it was an interesting story and what have you, and I had fun watching it. But it was like, hey man, just give me like the last like 30 seconds to the last couple of minutes. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to be that sets up a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, it was
There's
fun.
sort of this level of ominous in the latest episode where you see her maternal figure be kind of cautious about this idea of getting engaged because she knows the effect it could have on Miss Scarlet, even if Miss Scarlet doesn't know the effect it'll have on her. Miss Scarlet's like, I'll be fine. I'm independent. I'm, like, I don't need a family around. Whatever. But there's this theme of people around her knowing how she's going to feel and knowing how she's going to react before she does, and we see that with what's his name from the detective force, inspector force, whatever his name is, though, knowing that she may not think that she's going to be crushed by this idea of the Duke with her childhood bully, or more generally, the Duke with anybody else, but he knows that she will be. And we've seen the Duke in, like romantic situations before. We've seen, Kate, jog my memory, have we really seen Eliza date somebody?
No, we had in first season a proposal that she quickly said no to. It was just to get his mom off his back.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the ongoing uncomfortable flirtation with Nash that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's supposed to be a flirtation, but it definitely reads like that. Um, and that's about it
The puppy love
for
with the
her.
little guy who's learning to box.
Yeah, but I don't
That's
see that
one-sided, though.
really. That's like he kind of admires her and she sees him like at most as a little brother that she could like, aw,
Yeah.
little
But
fit.
there's no like real other prospects for her that we have
No.
explored. And I think it would take the fun out of it if she has somebody and the Duke has somebody at the same time. I think we need to see her feel alone in a sense with,
Mhm.
family suddenly getting married, moving out of the house. The Duke suddenly has, a love interest or whatever is going on there, which they need to be careful about, and we'll circle back to that. But I think I do want to see her be alone and kind of work through that. And we see in the promo her like avoiding the Duke, and he's like, "Why would you be avoiding me?" Well, um, after she resolves that, and I think simultaneous with the Duke kind of realizing like he can't continue this relationship with Annabelle because there's still something there with Eliza that he wants, whatever. That is when I want to see her get a
I,
temporary love interest. I think I want them to not align.
what this is kind of already going into theories, but from like where I'm seeing the storyline going and even the trailer and just like understanding realistically, we only have 2 more episodes this season. My guess is they're going to lean into this next episode, lean into this. He's so infatuated with her, Arabella, so into her, whatever. And Arabella's into it until she realizes, but he's really in love with uh, Eliza. And it's like, I'm not going to be second fiddle. I'm not going to be in a relationship with you just for you to be in love with this other woman. That's not what for me. And her cut it off. That's my guess. And all at the same time, we're going to see Eliza lonely. We're going to see her struggling to do this all on her own, feeling the effects of lonely with him and with Ivy. But then I also wonder if we are going to get her like considering the Nash proposal,
Mm-hmm.
as in like job proposal,
Yeah.
and continue to flirt with him, but not get any way further than where we already have, in the sense of like we lean into like he's actually more complex than he first comes off. He
Mm-hmm.
has some charm and will flirt with her to like try to get her to work with him. But other than that, nothing much. Just so we have a bit of a dynamic energy and it's just not her sitting in the Twilight-esque room going, it's a possibility. So like it could be more than just that.
I think we could
Um,
have a double layer jealousy. Let's go super
mhm.
toxic. She
Just
accepts Nash's proposal and starts working with him, which is going to make the Duke jealous because she's
mhm.
going to have another, partner, whatever. And also at the start of next season, we see her, like, this is the time where I'm going to step out and I'm going to go to dinner dates or, balls or whatever they called it back then, sit in a room and have tea with a gentleman, whatever. My cat is blocking the light. That's why a shadow has ominously been cast across my face right as I start, like, theorizing all the toxic things that could happen. So then you see the Duke struggle with this like dual-edged jealousy where he's jealous of her working with a different partner and also jealous of her, like, okay, I'm finally open to this, like I will be courted or whatever. I would love that.
See, I know you guys have probably talked about this before, but I'll ask the question, right? So this woman's name is Arabella, right? Is it Arabella?
Yeah. I called her
So,
Annabella, but it wasn't meanness, it was just bad memory, I think.
so I mean, other than the fact that like the Duke is like one of the main characters of the show, why do we not believe that he could be with Arabelle and not be and that be a thing, right? What's stopping that from being a legit
He's in
relationship?
love with Eliza. Like he's genuinely fully in love with Eliza. Like we're not
Hmm.
like in a space where we're like we want them to fall in love with each other. He is fully in love with Eliza. Like pining, breath catching type of
Hmm.
thing. He
Well,
also sometimes hates Eliza is the problem,
yes.
but he is desperately madly in love with her and has been for, I would say, some point in season one.
Yeah. I
So
He always loves her, but he sometimes hates her. But I will also say, like, in any scene they're in together this season, especially, even if he's arguing with her, it is full puppy dog eyes. It is
Oh yeah.
full, please look at me, I adore you eyes. And Cammie and I have watched enough romantic television with toxic ships to see the writing on the wall.
sure, but let me speak. Let me be the voice of like unrequited love guy here, right? So he has those feelings and
Mhm.
they aren't returned. I'm not saying you like I'm not saying you like jump ship to ship, right? But it wouldn't it be like legitimate for him to say, you know what, I see how this ends, so let me go here. And why can't that with Arabelle be like fulfilling as well? Because we've all sort of been like in a situation where we either like someone or love someone, but it wasn't going to work for whatever reason. Doesn't mean you put your life on hold. It means you have to go and move on. So
You're
why can't
speaking
this
health
we just move
into
on?
what we want to be in a toxic
Yes.
environment is the problem. Like you're 100% right. The healthy thing for him to do would be to like absolutely move on. The thing that we as the audience know is that the feelings are quieted. She is she's perhaps not in love with him. I don't think she is. But she does love him. She cares for him very much. She blocks those feelings. She has abandonment issue, like whatever. It's not an impossible situation by any stretch of the imagination. This isn't like there's leaps and hurdles to go through before she would like open up, but there'd be a bit to go through before she'd open up. And Arabella is just an easier option because she's emotionally available, but doesn't change the fact that he is in love with Eliza. And as long as Eliza is like there, and even if she weren't, like he would still be in love with her, just
Well,
Well,
contextually.
and I'll add, it's very likely, kind of how I see this going is we'll get him fully committing to like changing course and going for Arabella, convincing himself I can forget about her romantically and still work with her as a friend and like court Arabella.
Right.
And that'll be all fine and dandy until Arabella sees him work again uh with Eliza and see that there's still obvious feelings for Eliza and it not necessarily be William to call it off. It'll probably be Arabella to call it off.
This is my
Because as much
favorite
as we
song.
don't
Play it again.
like as much as we don't like Arabella, there is something to be said that me and Cammie would totally love her in any other storyline ever. And because of that, you do know she has self-respect. And because she has copious amounts of self-respect, she will not play third or second fiddle to Eliza and his infatuation with Eliza, love for Liza, and we'll see that that's still there weeks, months later, and be like, I'm good, actually. I don't want to enter the toxic triangle that you two are a part of.
I think the way the
Well,
storyline beats are going to go actually is we're going to see her do something to, like, in a very mild, petty, innocuous way, get between him and Eliza. So schedule a date during their, like, Wednesday night dinner, or make some sort of, like, backhanded comment about Eliza that's, like, seems perfectly innocuous but could potentially get under, his skin. Just like something to kind of, like, try to splinter a wedge. And from a storyline perspective, for like a few beats, we're going to see that work. We're going to see, Eliza and the Duke drift apart a bit. We're going to see, them, be in the room less, or there's some awkwardness between them, or there's visibly distance between them in scenes, whatever. Whereas there's closeness with him and Arabella. But then something will happen, probably some sort of like near death or dangerous situation where they're not just his loyalty to Eliza, but Eliza and the Duke's loyalty to each other will be shown, and it will be like this very like angsty, romantic, whatever thing, and that's going to clue Arabella into this idea of like, I can't do enough wedges to undo that, and she'll cut her losses and go, because ultimately she is a scammer. I say this with respect, but she is a scammer. It's heavily implied she scammed her last husband too. So this isn't even so much about feelings. Like, I don't even think she would need to like be in love with William or have William be in love with her. Like, it's not that. I just think she knows she needs a partner who she has 100% control over. And as long as Eliza is alive, she doesn't have 100% control over William. She doesn't even have most control over William. Eliza has majority control over William.
so let me ask you this question, because that's interesting, right? So how do you get to an Eliza and the Duke happy ending if without, because it sounds like we're going to have to make Arabelle sort of the active ingredient in that happening, right?
Yeah, she's a
Because
catalyst.
otherwise,
It's ultimately a good thing.
right, right. But does that lessen Scarlett, Miss Scarlett and the Duke getting together if there wasn't an active sort of, if they weren't actively trying to get together, it was just sort of like a realization brought to them by a third party?
If
Because
this were a
everyone
healthy
loves the grand gestures,
relationship,
right?
if this were a healthy relationship, yeah, totally. I would so agree with you that it's kind of sad that we had to have an outside catalyst to bring this together. If this was a Fitzsimmons situation, I would be pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
This is not. This is so toxic already, and very much to extremely pig-headed people,
Mm-hmm.
very much in their own way, set in their own lifestyles. And they're very much uncompromising currently in how they could make it work.
Mm-hmm.
This catalyst, I think, is proving to them that they have no choice but to make it work because they can't live without each other. Like, their only option is to make it work.
Right.
Woo!
They're
So,
metaphorically handcuffed together in a basement.
yes.
A situation we saw her and Nash in, sort of loosely, like in a metaphorical sense, they are handcuffed together in a basement, and they can sit and fight, or they can love each other. Here's the other kind of toxic thing. This cannot be a 50-50 relationship. I know, like, I'm team woman and I'm team Eliza, whatever, but in this situation, like, I see good in William. Like, there is not even a little, like, this is not a situation where it's like, I love Felicity and Felicity loves Oliver, so I'm going to put up with Oliver. I think William is an excellent, excellent character within this situation and has done a lot of good. It unfortunately, is not a situation where it could be 50-50. He has to pursue her. He has to give more. He has to continually pursue her and give in and make compromises and wear his heart on his sleeve and kind of put himself out there before he could ever get to her, because she's the one with the baggage and the abandonment issues and this, that, or the other. He doesn't have that to the same degree. He's a complicated character as well, and he's got some like emotional, complexity based on like his family and being in a, in England instead of Scotland, or like whatever the situation is. He doesn't have the same shit that she's carrying. He will have to give more, and he doesn't want to do that because he's a very justice oriented person. He's this very much like, okay, we've done this 50-50 thing, like we've scheduled these Wednesday dinner dates, and I've tried to ask you about your future, and I've tried to ask you, do you want a family, do whatever, and each time you brush me off or laugh me off or turn something that could be serious into a joke, or refuse to compromise on what a future could look like, whatever. So has this like, I've done more than 50-50. I would settle for 60-40. 60-40 is not going to work. This is going to be like a 90-10 situation, and once he comes to terms with that, then they can go somewhere.
Well, and even outside of the emotional baggage, whatever, you then add into a certain amount of meta storytelling part of the split too, because there is so much built into the how are we going to get here that revolves around one of them has to make a pretty distinct compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And it all does kind of fall down to what the stakes we're being told falls down to is the career thing. And we've seen hints of him getting promotions and then not, or like taking it or not, or whatever, because he is a young man and he is a well performing detective. I'm forgetting the word
inspector,
too. What he's that? Inspector. Yeah, that was what it was. He clearly went into this profession wanting certain career like goalpost. He wanted to reach a certain point in the detective field, and that's all great. That is actually a really great thing that he consistently wants to pursue. That he is a really good detective, both as like actually being good at detective work as well as being a good manager to his detectives. All great. The problem is there is no way they could have her give up her detective job.
right?
That will not fly as a storyline because it won't make sense for any of the story. It won't make sense for her. It won't make sense as a TV show, as a premise. It is very much in the face of all of the things we've been told about them. And yeah, I can kind of support like going the subversive route with storytelling, but that's not subversive. That's just like going completely wrong. So you do know that he's the one that's going to have to give up career-wise as well. And this is not a small, like, I'll take off more time to be with the kids. Like, we all make small, like, my turn to make a compromise and your turn's next time. Like, none of that. This is a full, we understand he's giving up a lot more than she ever could. Issue, and it's going to be how they decide to navigate that's really a big factor in where they go
And
forward
he's
and
going to
when they
have
go
to be the
forward.
one who does the desperate love declaration.
Yes.
He's just gonna have to, because she won't.
See, and that's sort of like probably where we differ, because I get the impression that you bring in Arabelle into this situation because she may realize that she finally has to. Sort of like you watch the show Bones.
Yeah, I did.
It's not incredibly similar, but kind of sort of, where you have like one character who obviously has no problems expressing himself, and another one who does. But I think it will come to a point where it doesn't have to be holding the boombox over her head sort of situation, but it has to be enough of a situation that she recognizes and he recognizes that it is significant for her to do whatever that declaration is.
But she would never do that when he's with another woman, anyways.
I counter argument. She totally would do that. Counter offer. What if the I'm so lonely, I need my friends and family back gets to the point. Also, the fact that she hates this woman and that's her bully. She will do some severely toxic things. I doubt she would make a love confession if everything was going in the right direction. Everything comfortable, everything safe, everything good, like the first half of the season. No, thank you. I will not be touching that with a 10-foot pole, Eliza says. But when it's super chaotic, super inconvenient timing for both of them, for her to make this confession, hurts several people in the process, destroys relationships, makes it incredibly messy for them to work together. Oh, totally, she would do that.
I hate how right that is. That's 100% gonna happen in 2 episodes from
Because
now.
yeah, that was the other part. It's like, how do they have their happy ending without either one of them looking like a villain, right? And maybe it will take a villainous turn in that respect. Like, you know what? I'm willing to crumble what you have in order to at least let you understand what it is that I'm offering. I don't know. It will be.
Like she does that and then he gets pissed and snaps at her and then she backs off and starts
Arabella.
dating other people.
Hmm. And then Arabella finally cuts it off, and then he's left like, now she's over me because I was with somebody else. Then we had a screaming match. What?
Mhm.
There's nothing clean and clear about what's going to happen, other than it's going to be messy.
Anecdotally, as we wrap this up, because we're fully out of time, if you want to watch
Mm.
the most toxic, screaming love confession thing of all time, watch episode 8 of Billy and Billy, a show on DirecTV that nobody in the world other than me watched. That is all we have for
Yeah.
today because we are 50 billion minutes over time. I look forward to hearing about everything else that you guys watched and read when we reconvene on 2:15. That matched. Rhyme, not matched. Whatever. Anyways, we're over time. Go fight Carey and Kate. Their information is in the description down below. Next time we'll catch up on Abbott Elementary, The Last of Us, You, The Flash, I guess,
The
if we have
finale of
to.
Legends of Vox Machina.
Yes, the final bit of Vox Machina, more on Miss Scarlet and the Duke. I mean, there's a lot. Um, TTFN.